I do have the privilege and pleasure to introduce and welcome back Governor Abbott to Caldwell County, where here the citizens in Caldwell County owe so much for the leadership of Governor Abbott. You know, if you remember a year ago, Governor Abbott, for the first time, had the State of the State address outside of the Capitol. It's the first time ever the State of the State address has been outside of the Capitol. He held it here in Lockhart. It was a privilege. Really neat, really special to highlight our town. And I believe the decision for this location was because to highlight the reasons why the citizens know that we have quality jobs now, we have good economic development is because of the policies and the leadership of Governor Greg Abbott. It's hard to believe that we're not known just for barbecue. We do have those quality jobs. You know, I have the privilege of working with Governor Abbott and his team in Austin. And today I have the privilege of welcoming our governor of the great state of Texas to Caldwell County, Governor Greg Abbott. Thank you for choosing Lockhart.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Great to be here. Howdy, Lockhart. Howdy, Caldwell County. It's great to be back out here with you, and I want to thank John Serrier for his service to the great state of Texas as a state representative. Thank you for the great job that you've done. I'm going to be talking about some of the things that we did this past session to show you what a very effective session we had, but we thank the role that John Serrier played in achieving that goal. Give it up for Representative John Serrier. Well, it's great to be back in Lockhart, Texas. Let me tell you about an historic role that Lockhart has played in the history of the state of Texas, as well as in the history for the governor of the state of Texas. As you may or may not know, every other year during the time of a legislative session, a governor gives a State of the State address. And during the State of the State address, the governor talks about what's going to happen in the session and casts the vision for the future of Texas. As far as I know, for the entirety of history of the state of Texas, that State of the State address has been given by the governor in Austin, Texas, except this past year. This past year, for the first time I'm ever aware of, the governor, myself, gave the State of the State address, not in Austin, Texas, but for the first time in Lockhart, Texas. The international home of barbecue. Well, listen, it's great to see. I can tell you're fired up and you're ready to keep Texas red. Let me tell you exactly why it is that we are going to win this November. It's going to be easy. All we're going to do is we're going to show the contrast between the Republican values and the Democrat values, and candidly, it's never been easier than before. You may remember a time when the Democrats used to actually call themselves Democrats, and then they were called liberals, and then they were called progressives. Now they are telling you who they really are. They are socialists, and they're running on socialist platforms, and socialists will never win in the great state of Texas. I am running for governor to make sure that none of these radical leftists ever hijack our great state. Let's take jobs in the economy, for example. Look at what we've been able to achieve working together. And under Republican leadership, we've set all-time records for jobs in the economy in the state of Texas. As we gather in Lockhart today, Texas is the #1 ranked state for business every year that I've been governor of the great state of Texas. Every year that I've been governor of the great state of Texas, the state has been ranked the #1 state in America for the most new economic development expansions and relocations. Texas is leading the way on growing our economy. And just as important as these big companies you may see coming in, we know that it is small businesses that are the backbone of our economy. Look at this. Look at all the small. We got Smitty's right here, and we got other small businesses along this entire square in downtown, as well as other locations in Lockhart. Those small businesses employ most of our Texans, and Texas now ranks the #1 state in America to start a small business. Texas is the place for business. Our economy is going so strong, I tell you what, we even climbed the international rankings over the course of COVID. Before COVID, if Texas were its own country, we would have had the 10th largest economy in the entire world. But that is not true as we gather in Lockhart today. Because as we gather in Lockhart today, Texas now has the 9th largest economy in the entire world. So you may be curious, well, who did we pass? We passed Brazil. So to put it in context, Texas now has a larger economy than Brazil. We have a larger economy than our two neighbors, Canada and Mexico. Texas has a larger economy than Australia. And Texas even has a larger economy than Russia. And that makes me more powerful than Putin. But let's understand this, and we need to come to grips with what I'm about to tell you, because as we are heading toward Election Day, we need to understand that the radical left, headed up by Beto O'Rourke, is seeking to, they will destroy jobs in this state with their agenda. For example, the Green New Deal agenda they are trying to impose on this state and on the United States would kill the hundreds of thousands of high-paying jobs in the energy sector in Texas. The energy sector, by the way, that has made the United States of America energy independent. I am running for governor to ensure that no leftist radical will destroy the high-paying jobs in the energy sector in Texas. We will continue those energy jobs in the Lone Star State. You know, you also see this leftist radical agenda even surface in our public schools. Oh, yeah, you see it and you feel it. You know, one way that we've seen it, and I don't know if it's here in Lockhart, but we've seen it some other places, is with this critical race theory that the radical leftists are trying to impose on our school children. It is wrong. They're trying to rewrite history and redesign the future of the United States. But also they're undermining the very values and core of what America stands for, and it was articulated not any better than what Martin Luther King Jr. himself said. We are to be judged not by the color of our skin, but by the content of our character. That is what America and Texas stands for. Because we saw the way that so many were trying to alter the way their children were thinking through the use of critical race theory. Not only once, but twice this past year, I signed laws to ban the teaching or use of critical race theory in our public schools. When it was all said and done, we banned the use of critical race theory in every grade, in every subject, in every public school in the state of Texas. I think the state of Texas has the strongest ban on critical race theory of any state in the United States of America. But, you know, as much as we see challenges about critical race theory, we need to understand an aspect about education in our state. Listen, I'm a strong proponent of public schools. In fact, there's been no governor who's provided more resources for our public schools in Texas than I have. And I'm a product of public schools. But we need to understand that in the end, no government program can replace the primary role that parents play in educating our children. So I'm going to be rolling out a robust Parents' Bill of Rights to restore parents as the primary authority in making decisions for their child's health care and education. Parents matter, and Texas will put parents first. You know, something else, another way that we see this radical agenda threatening the great state of Texas is the way that it is literally endangering public safety in our communities. And one of the profound ways in which we saw that was what we saw in Austin, Texas, and what we've seen and what Beto O'Rourke has supported, and that is the crazy idea of defunding our police. That is unacceptable. Unacceptable. In Texas, we support our law enforcement officers, period. Exactly. This man's from Minnesota, and he said he saw what it did to Minnesota. We saw what happened in Minneapolis. We saw what happened in Seattle and Portland, Chicago, and New York. As your governor, I wanted to ensure that would not happen in the state of Texas, and that is exactly why I signed a law that will defund any city that defunds our police. We will not allow our police officers to be defunded in the state of Texas. I am running for re-election to ensure that no radical leftist will ever defund our law enforcement in the great state of Texas. But listen, as important as the role as law enforcement is, candidly, the safety of our communities, the safety of our state, may be in danger the most right now by this radical leftist open border policy by the Biden administration that is supported by Beto. It has led to chaos. Remember this, just this time last year, when Donald Trump was still president of the United States, we had the most secure border that we had had in decades. And that has all been destroyed by the chaos of these open border policies of the Biden administration. Well, Texas has stepped up. And we've done more than any state in the history of the United States of America to secure our border and to keep our community safe. We have sent down thousands of National Guard as well as DPS troopers. And they are working to ensure that they secure the border, that they try to crack down on this horrendous smuggling in of the deadly drug of fentanyl. And they also working to arrest and crack down on human trafficking. I signed 15 laws this past session to crack down on the horrific crime of human trafficking. Together, we must end the exploitation of women and children who are being trafficked across our border. And now, Texas is building our own border wall. I am running for governor to ensure that Texas will continue to secure our border, including building that border wall. But listen, as important as public safety is, you need to understand that freedom itself is on the ballot this election year. Look at the freedoms in our Constitution. As your governor, I have fought to defend your constitutional rights every single day. whereas at the same time, Beto has threatened your constitutional rights. Let me just give you two examples. In the First Amendment, it guarantees the freedom of religion. Beto has threatened to take away the tax-exempt status of any church that refuses to bow down to the woke radical agenda. I will not let that happen. To the contrary, I signed a law prohibiting any government official from ever closing down a church in Texas, denying your right to go worship God Almighty and to protect your First Amendment freedom of religion rights. And listen, we all know what Beto said about your Second Amendment rights. Beto said he's going to come to Lockhart, Texas, and take your guns. So while Beto was threatening your Second Amendment rights, I have signed 20 laws protecting your Second Amendment rights, including making Texas a constitutional carry state. And including making Texas a Second Amendment sanctuary state. We will not allow the Biden administration or Beto to come in and take your guns. I got news for the liberals. As long as I'm the governor of Texas, your right to keep and bear arms will never be infringed. So let me just close with this. We need to understand what's at stake over the next 10 months or so. What's at stake is the future of Texas. Are we going to take a hard left turn? Are we going to keep Texas on the right course? Freedom itself is on the ballot. Let me tell you a quick story about something that I saw recently during a campaign stop. I flew into Paris, Texas. Paris, Texas is smaller than Lockhart, Texas. And when you fly into the airport at Paris, Texas, when you leave the airport, you're going down just a two-lane road like this neighborhood road right here. And as we were driving through the neighborhood, what stood out to me is that every single house in that neighborhood had a flag flying in front of it. Then I went to the downtown, which was a downtown square like this, and every storefront in that downtown had an American flag flying in front of it. Here's my point. The people of Paris, Texas, they are patriotic. They love America. And as much as they love America, candidly, there is just as many who may love the great state of Texas even more. But we need to understand, as much as we love America, as much as we revere Texas, there are some in Texas, including some running for governor, who do not like America the way that it is, who do not like Texas the way that it is. They want to redesign the state of Texas. We cannot let that happen. We will defeat the radical leftists, and we will keep Texas, Texas, and that process begins today, right now, in Lockhart, Texas, and continues every day until Election Day next November. So thank you all for everything that you're doing. God bless you all, and God bless the great state of Texas.